This video is sponsored by Cake Wallet, the easiest open source wallet to store Bitcoin, Monero, and Litecoin securely on mobile and desktop devices. When buying, selling, and exchanging crypto or trading for gift cards, Cake Wallet ensures privacy and security, giving you the keys to your coins. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Miss Teen Crypto Show. I'm your host, Randi Hipper, here today on a lovely Wednesday. I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you again for joining. If you guys are here, make sure you smash the like, subscribe, share the stream out with friends so more people could know what's going on with Bitcoin, crypto, the news, and our very special guest, Rob, Digital Asset News. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Good. How long has it been since we did a show together?
Over 7 months. Can you believe that?
Yeah, 7. Well, better times back then. Better times. 7 months ago.
I was on your show recently.
That's true, but that doesn't count.
It doesn't count. You're funny. And you know what, Rob? We were just talking pre-show, and I respect you so much because you're real, and you're willing to tell us how you feel everything is doing. You're not afraid to say, hey, I'm just chilling, I'm doing my thing, and this is how I feel. Again, I respect realism, I respect transparency. I feel like you gotta be transparent, like the Bitcoin blockchain in a way, you know what I mean? Thank you for the $100 super chat, I appreciate that. But we're gonna jump in. How did you, in case people didn't see the last time you were on the show, how did you jump into crypto, Rob? What's your crypto backstory?
I like the price to go up, and the price did go up, so I was pretty happy about that. No, so like I was actually introduced to this in 2012 with my son. He comes home and he says, hey, this is 2012. Hey, do you want to buy 500 Bitcoin for $500? There's a kid at school selling it on a hard drive. And I said, what's Bitcoin? And you know, when you first explain Bitcoin, you know, what do you say? Well, it's decentralized and it's peer-to-peer transactions, and it's gonna be really great. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So I passed on that. And then you know, you would hear about these stories, and I think everybody that's probably in the audience, you probably heard about like China just bans Bitcoin, and then of course the government's getting involved in Bitcoin, and this is going to go to zero, and that's what I heard from 2012 all the way to 2017. Then all of a sudden, 2017, I'm like, wait a second, people have been lying to me, and I figured out maybe I should actually get into it. So that was my first rodeo, and then I rode it all the way down in 2017, 2019, end of 2019, I go, I need to start talking to other people because my family and friends don't want to listen to me anymore. So started the YouTube channel. And then of course I was kind of like semi-retired anyhow, because I had already done a lot of things with online businesses, and then for real estate and land. So everything was kind of on autopilot. So I started the crypto channel on November 2019. And now here we are. I'm just trying to get everybody to the promised land and not do anything truly ridiculously crazy.
2019 is an interesting time to start a YouTube channel because you had, you know, 2017, everyone was getting hype, and then it was like the 2017, 2018, and then boom, just sadness. And then it was kind of like you joining in November 2019 was kind of like me joining like April 2020. It was just like right before, like it was still dry, like people were like not excited, and then came, you know, you had 2020, I had 2020, you had 2020 and 2021 just like me. So it was very interesting. Like how was it to start a YouTube channel at that time? Were there a lot of other people making content? I mean, I've been watching crypto content for years, but how'd you feel about it?
There was a lot of rug pullers, I'll tell you that. A lot of the people from 2017, and this is like if you're in 2021, you think, oh, some of these influencers and some of these projects and rug pulls, you never lived through if you're from 2017, you know what I'm talking about, especially like the ICOs. There was so much trash out there that did absolutely nothing. Like, hey, we have this white paper. We don't do anything right now, but we're going to do something. And you're like, you know what? Here's $20 million. Just take my money. It was worse back then. And then I talked about this today on the show, and I know we're not thinking about the selling mentality because we're not there yet. But Randy, just like you said, in 2020, remember in 2020, like there's nothing really going on, and halving happened, and all of a sudden people started to talk. And then all of a sudden Elon Musk comes out and he's like, you know what, we're going to start to use Bitcoin for payments. And all of a sudden PayPal came out and said, we're going to get into the crypto industry. And then before you know it, the narrative blows up, and then 2021, everything goes crazy. And then, of course, we just crashed. And of course, we just crashed back down. So I know we're not thinking about the selling of assets, but if you're watching this video, you're probably a pro already. You're not a tourist. So you're really good at buying, maybe dollar cost averaging, dynamic dollar cost averaging, lump sum, whatever you're doing. But the thing you ask yourself is the same narratives that was in 2017 when Rob got around, the same narrative in 2021 when Randy was here, and right now going into 2024, 2025, we're going to hear the same narratives and they're going to say the same thing. This will never go down. It's going up forever. There's no way that this can lose, and the community is going hard and diamond hands, and that's it. That's all you got to do. I'm telling you, I've lived through these already enough. At some point, you need to put a plan in action, because if not, you're going to plan to fail.
Yeah, and I think, the perspective about diamond hands, it depends on your time frame, right?
True.
If you've been, like, Bitcoin's the best performing asset of all time, period. There's nothing else that can compare to it. So if you're holding Bitcoin since, 2017 until now, you're still doing all right, give or take. You're upset, 2017, 20K was the top, and then you're at 27K. So it depends again on your time frame. Whether now, if you're holding posts like in 2021 on the rundown, and then through 2022, and you're looking to diamond hand right now, it's more difficult because we're sideways trading and there's nothing really happening. So, and you might have taken a loss on the way down. So.
Oh yeah, like right now, like people know on my channel, like I talk about dollar cost averaging, dynamic DCA. Yep. So I'm down. I've been DCAing since 2022. Which, of course, if I just would have had that crystal ball, I would have known that I should have waited a little bit, but I didn't. But it was the same thing in 2018, 2019 when I was throwing sand in the ocean. So right now, and we do this every Sunday, we take a look at my portfolio. I show you what I'm investing into, and I show you how much I'm down. And it's a lot. But it was the same thing, like I remember buying Ethereum in 2017 for like around $1,000. I mean, towards the top, $800. I remember buying Bitcoin at 7,500, 8,500, then 17,500. I remember buying Cardano at 90 cents and $1. But I also remember doing the same thing in 2018 and 19 when Cardano was a nickel, 3 cents. Wow. I remember when Ethereum was $84 to $90. I remember when Bitcoin was $3,000, $4,000, and $5,000. And when I was doing that, I'm like, I'm throwing sand in the ocean. This sucks. But as time went on, it worked out pretty well. And I think it's going to repeat the same way. I don't know if the bull run's coming in 2024 or 2025 or 2026, but I know that bear markets don't last forever, and bear markets are somewhere on the horizon.
Somewhere, some way, Rob. Hopefully soon. I'm so bored with this price action. I mean, listen, I'm excited. I mean, it is funny to me what we get excited over nowadays. Thank you for the memberships. I think it's kind of crazy what we get excited over nowadays. Like, 3% pump, let's go. Like, and where you see in the past bull markets, 10, 20% days. And, again, people are like, there's not much upside with Bitcoin. Even if we go back to all-time high, it's like, what, a 3x or less. I get it, man. But at the end of the day, like, I know some people talk about making money. The ICO phase might have been a hit or miss for some people. 2017, the grocery store coins in 2020. You remember that when Uniswap was coming out. Then the meme coins of this year, you might have gotten a nice hit. But at the end of the day, we got to go back to the fundamentals of the space, Rob, which is being your own bank, which is being self-sovereign. And now we're seeing more than ever this inflation and the control of the monetary system, where you have groups like the Bank for International Settlements. They're a group of central bankers, control 95% of the world's economy, and all the central banks we're seeing are just working together, and they're just printing and printing. It's like, you print today, where we have places like Argentina, triple-digit inflation. So it goes back to, like, even if Bitcoin, like we're talking about, the sideways trading, people get bored, or 3% days up or down, I think it's still a better alternative to fiat currency for a lot of these people that are experiencing, again, like that triple-digit inflation.
Yeah, and so that's the whole thing. And like, inflation is a killer. Here's a prime example. Mm-hmm. This house that I'm at right now, we bought this in 2005, and back then it wasn't a ton of money. And the rates were roughly the same rates we have right now. It was around 6, 7, somewhere percent for a mortgage, right? And then as time went on, mortgage rates went super, super low. We're looking at 2.32, 3.75, somewhere around there. Everybody was happy. But then there's this thing called money printing, and M2 money supply and quantitative easing. And of course, the printers go on, as they always do, and keep going up. This same house is worth 3.5 to 4x of what it was before. The rates are the same. The problem is that you watching this video, did your wages go up 3 to 4x in the last 20 years? When's the last time you got a raise? And that's the thing. If they're going to print all this money, and it's not just here in America, of course, everybody does it. I mean, we have the strength of the Dixie and going back and forth. The problem is not the rates. The problem is the inflation. And the great thing about Bitcoin is that it is a hedge against inflation. So what did everything do? Of course, Bitcoin, if you go back to 20, and just think about this, in 20, like the story I told you in 2012, 500 Bitcoin for $500.
It's crazy.
Right? Let's say that Bitcoin was worth $20 back in 2013. Okay. What could you get back 10 years ago at the grocery store for $20? Quite a lot of stuff, right? Now go to the grocery store, take out that $20, see how far you get. Take out the same Bitcoin that you bought back in 2013 and see how much groceries you can buy with that one Bitcoin. It's a heck of a lot more, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? People get so upset when you bring that up. Like, what do you mean? Like, that's if you knew about Bitcoin. But yeah, if you did, you were doing good. So it's just like, I bring that all the time, the purchasing power, and people, I think inflation passes people by because it slowly just increases over time, and people are like, what a family member told me once, it's just the cost of living, and things like that just blow my mind because it's a punishment almost. It's not the cost of living, it's a punishment where we didn't get to choose this money printer going burr and making us all suffer and pay the price, because at the end of the day, who's living the best? It's the people that are sitting on these financial committees or in Congress in general. Liz Warren makes $193K a year, somehow amassed a $73 million net worth. That doesn't just happen, so there's people like us that are everyday people. We don't know the tricks to the market, and we don't know, things ahead of time, maybe like they do. So we can't hedge against that. We don't know what to do, and we just kind of have to figure it out on our own. So it's like opting out again of a system of control where, again, we didn't get to choose that. It's forced on us, and now they're extra scared because we have something that, again, brings the power back to the people. It's intimidating, I guess.
No, it is. But you know what, like what you said is that, people will tell you now, like, well, of course, if you would have bought it back then, when it was only like 10,000, 12,000, that's great. But I heard the same thing in 2017. And I was saying this, I was saying the same thing. I'm like, if I just would have got it when it was $1,000 or $500, like my friend Diddy from the Bitcoin family, he was like, well, in January or somewhere around there in 2017, he said, you know what? If I would have done this, or I think I know where things are going. Bitcoin, he got like his first Bitcoin for like 20 or 50 or $100 or something like that. When it was 1,000, a 10x or 20x, he's like, I'm selling my car, I'm selling my house, I'm selling my business, I'm selling everything. I'm going to put it all into Bitcoin at $1,000. And you know what? Price went down a little bit. And then over time in 2017, it skyrocketed up, and it works out pretty well. So I can't give anybody financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I will just say that if we look historically, and if we take a look at the gains, there was a great chart from Charlie Baleo that just came out yesterday. Bitcoin trumps everything. It trumps NASDAQ, the S&P 500, real estate investment trust. Gold, precious metals, everything over the last 12, 13 years. So I know people say, well, if I just would have known, this is a great opportunity as we're in this pretty bad bear market. But it's your choice.
It's not like, people didn't even know. It's just like people don't know. I hit the streets all the time and I ask people, do you know about Bitcoin? And they look at me like I'm crazy still. Yet we still have this media attack on Bitcoin, where even Joe Kernan from CNBC, he was like, saying that we've been saying since Bitcoin was 4,000, it wasn't going to be anything. And now it's one of the best performing assets. And it is the best performing asset. He was right there. So, there's also, this attack, Liz Warren's anti-crypto army spreading absolute misinformation, saying that Bitcoin mining is bad, but it's over 50% renewable energy now. And that's increasing. It incentivizes renewable energy. So there's the energy thing, then there's, that Bitcoin isn't safe and they try to scare people. Then there's the Gary Gensler attacks on things like Coinbase and all these people like SBF they make a spectacle out of, even though they're softballing him a little bit. But it's all things to scare people away from crypto. So we need that fundamental education that is missing from the media, to be honest.
That's true. And I will play devil's advocate here and just be careful who we listen to, right? Like Randy
True.
here, she always got a great show, just gives you the information, static, everything's good. And then of course, like we listen to the Sam Bankman-Frieds out there who's like, it's all about altruism and I'm going to donate everything. I just saw this, it was a interview that he did. I think it was like with MSNBC or CNBC. He's like, yeah, I'm just here to give all my money away. When in actuality, he was a filthy liar and he played a Ponzi scheme. And then even there, go back to, I think it was the Bitcoin conference 2021 in Miami. Peter Thiel was on stage. Nothing against Peter Thiel, great investor, right? But he talked about how great Bitcoin was and it was the best thing of all time. And of course, we should accumulate. And what did he do in his hedge fund? He was actually selling off the majority of his crypto at that point whenever that Bitcoin conference was. So just be careful who you're listening to and just make your best decisions for yourself.
Exactly.
Because sometimes it may not feel right. It's not right. And of course, that's what it all comes down to as far as doing the best research you possibly can by yourself.
Absolutely. Let's talk about doing your own research. You were coming into this space, you heard $1 per Bitcoin in 2012, which is absolutely mind-blowing. I wonder where that kid is at now that he had 500 Bitcoin just to give away. What a kid. What do you think about doing your own research, navigating this space? Because obviously you were saying that your friends, your family thought you were a little cuckoo like me. So you were kind of on your own little journey, Rob. So how did you navigate that? Who did you watch? If you did watch anybody, what did you read? How did you really get your fundamentals besides the making money part?
Yeah, well, first of all, you're insane until you're proven right. And then you're a genius.
Oh, yeah.
So like right now, because we've been around, remember 2021? Like the last Thanksgiving you did in 2021? Wasn't everybody like, hey, so tell us about that Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Tell us about that Ethereum. Tell us about that Doge. And then of course, in 2022, what was the Thanksgiving like? Hey, so how's the investment going, genius? And then of course, this next one coming out is gonna be the same thing. Sorry to tell you that, but it's okay. It's a cycle because as time goes on, and of course in 2024 or 2025, they'll be like, hey, what's up with that Bitcoin? It's the same thing. So like if we talk about like doing a research and what I took a look at, I just I want to take a look at was why it went up as far as with Bitcoin, but the other things, the other different projects that were out there, like what makes Ethereum that much different, what makes Theta that much, what makes EOS, and this was back, of course, when I was looking in 2018, 2019. And of course, you start to learn about them and move forward. Unfortunately, I think we get a little bit too narrow viewed about just price action. We don't take a look at things that actually matter as far as like adoption. So like for you guys watching this video, price is great and TA is great if you're looking at things go up, but how do you take a look at adoption itself? There's a couple of websites I take a look at as far as adoption metrics. If you're taking a look at like L2, layer 2s on Ethereum, there's a website called L2beat.com, and it takes a look at the total volume locked for all these L2s. And number one is Arbitrum. So it got almost $6 billion locked up. Optimism, almost 2.73, base 548 million. Immutable X, almost 100 million. So that's L2 beat. So we can take a look at that. Also, take a look at DApp Radar.
Yes,
and if you just take a look at all the rankings, you can see which ones are the unique active wallets, what people are actually using, what it's going over a time frame. And like who's actually, using these dApps or these which are built on these different projects, and you can see which ones it is. So sometimes you don't want to really look into the dApps themselves, but what does it actually build on? Is it Ethereum? Is it Near? Is it, take your pick. And then last one I take a look at is, just active addresses. And of course, you can take that a look for a lot of different ones and go, who's actually using this? Now, some people will say that active addresses can be more easily manipulated, and that's actually true. So you can actually take a look at the fees that are being generated, and there's a bunch of different websites for that. Yeah. And of course, even though Ethereum has a #1 chain for fees, it's because it's super expensive for gas fees. What you really want to look at is just the trend. Is the trend of the fees, like for Solana, is it going, because it's super cheap, is it going up or is it going down? That's why you take a look at the unique active wallets, and you can see that, hey, the fees are actually, or the amount of revenue generated is going up or it's going down. That means that people are using it and they're paying with their pocketbook. So these types of things are what I try to look at now, moving forward to what's actually being used.
I like that. I like that. Those are some creative ways that a lot of people don't, really bring up, on-chain activity, on-chain analytics, I think are really important. And, we see on-chain analytics where there's not a lot of people, again, that own Bitcoin. And we have like a lot of work to do. I think less than 5% of the world owns Bitcoin. And I think that's extremely bullish considering
That's
that,
right.
we look at what Bitcoin's done. 14 years Bitcoin's been around, and it has the entire global financial system falling at its feet saying, what do we do? And that brings us to like central bank digital currencies and things that are happening there. We have people like Tom Emmer pushing the CBDC, Anti-Surveillance State
Right.
Act. So, that prevents a central bank from issuing a CBDC directly to you. And speaking of Tom Emmer, we have the Speaker of the House got booted. And now Patrick McHenry is sitting there. He's also pro crypto, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, he can't pass legislation if he's a temporary speaker, right? Is that true?
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know
So
exactly how that
either,
works.
listen, if he could push it, that would be great. But then we also have Tom Emmer, who could potentially become Speaker of the House. I don't know. Do you think that would be good for us at all? Do you think that would be a nice push?
Well, every time we see Gary Gensler getting grilled, I believe Tom Emmer is right there doing the hardest grilling of all time.
Yeah.
And he's been pro crypto for as long as I heard his name mentioned. So it's him, David Warrenson or Warren. I always get his
Warren
Warren
Davidson.
Davidson,
He's cool.
and also from Senator Cynthia Lummis. So these are the people, and of course Ted Cruz, which everybody seems to hate, but he's from my great state of Texas. I mean, these guys are all very pro crypto. And if you take a look at it, like who's pro crypto, not to get very political, but it's a lot of Republicans. I hate to tell you guys this, but Democrats, however, I will say this. I have voted Democrat in the past. I have voted as an independent, and I voted as a Republican. So I've been all through there. I have friends who are Democrats. Yeah, I have friends who are Democrats, friends who are Republicans. There was a letter put out, and it was co-authored by Tom Emmer, and I forgot the other people's names, but out of the 4 people that authored the letter, which said, look, Gary, you need to listen to the courts and you need to approve this Bitcoin ETF. Out of those 4 people, 2 were Republicans and 2 were Democrats.
Yep.
So it's not like they're not there. It's just that it just seems like every time we hear about it, it's that. So, or it's a Republican. So I think Tom would be great. I think this new person that has taken over, Patrick McHenry, if he gets to stay on, great. But I guess the whole thing comes down to Kevin McCarthy was just not doing his great job, and he has a vote of no confidence.
Yeah, that was pretty insane. I was watching that. I heard the decision like as they made it. I just can't believe what's going on in this world. I feel like things are a little bit hectic and crazy, and there's just so many things. I feel the last 4 years has just been historical event after historical event, and we know that it's not over because this world is a crazy world, and especially because we're entering that digital age where Bitcoin, crypto, it's just so important. And I know you were talking about DeFi before, and it just has a lot of power, and I think it really enables people to like not be an accredited investor and imagine having hundreds of thousands of dollars in your bank account just so you can invest in something. I feel like, in the current system, it's almost like you have to be successful to become more successful. How do you start from scratch? And I feel like DeFi or Bitcoin kind of gives you that ability of saying, okay, maybe I am in a third world country and I don't have a bank account and I'm not able to get on exchanges and do all these crazy things. I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars. You could get that help and go to DeFi and say, oh, I'm going to, jump into some coins or jump into Bitcoin and crypto and start transacting and owning something. And even without the internet, you can move Bitcoin, which I think is so powerful for people. I don't know. How do you feel about self-custody right now?
Well,
do you think it's something important?
I didn't think it was in the beginning, but guess what? I was wrong again. Oh, sheesh. I'm going to tell you why. So when I got in 2017, we heard about this thing called Mt. Gox, and it was just bad security, right? And I was like, okay, so I got to know how to do cold storage. Got it. And then I got lazy and I didn't do it. And then of course we had these great centralized exchanges come in, FTX, Voyager, Celsius, and BlockFi. And of course, where it was well, the same thing that happened with Mt. Gox for security. That's not an issue now because we're way far advanced. That's not going to happen. And look what happened. So of course it's a lesson for me, a lesson for everybody. I've lost, we've all lost. So now it's all about, well, I use 3 different wallets, LDPal, Ledger, and Tangent. And just like I diversify with different cryptos and crypto projects and Bitcoin down, I also keep things spread around for these cold storage. So I think it's important, but let me ask you this, Randy. Moving forward, do you think the new people that are coming in, because like you said, only 5% of people own Bitcoin in the world, right? Let's say we double that next time or triple that. Now we get 10% more of the population in crypto. How many of those people are really gonna be like, oh yeah, cold storage sounds like something I should do?
I think a lot of people will. I think we're at a really pivotal point in history with the banking system. So we're seeing that you show up to your bank, your money's not there. People are just seeing money missing from their accounts from multiple banks. You have people like Bank of America paying this year a $250 million fine, and it's not the first time they've paid fines, by the way, where they're double dipping in fees. They're creating credit card accounts, using your data, your information without your consent. People are also, this was brought up during the Gary hearing, Tom Emmer actually brought it up to him, where there were bankers telling Gary, people are withdrawing millions of dollars every single day from the banks and putting it in crypto. So that kind of jump-started Operation Choke Point, where they were trying to cut off everything and FUD crypto to the max because people are exiting the traditional financial system and they are seeing that, yeah, you could wake up tomorrow morning and you might not be able to transact or your money may not be there and your bank is just insolvent now to an isolated incident, which was the reason for the 5th bank failure this year, which no one's talking about. So I think despite, people being scared to self-custody, they're going to have no choice.
I think that you're right if they get to people like you, where you're constantly talking about that, or people like, the different people that are out there, and whether social media, or they listen to people that have heard someone like you talk about cold storage, because without it, they're like, because here's the thing, it's not like, and I'll ask the audience this question, because I'm not 100% for sure, but how many different centralized exchanges put out constant messages about how important it is for cold storage? I'm just curious because I don't know a ton of them. Like Coinbase doesn't really put too much. I think it may have like an affiliate link to Ledger maybe, but it's not like they're constantly bombarding me with that message.
Maybe Binance is the only one because Trust Wallet.
Oh, Trust Wallet, is Trust Wallet still a hot wallet?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a hot
wallet.
But
it doesn't matter. So like I think like the people that get into it, like if you're in America, you got very few choices. Let's be honest. You got Coinbase, you got Kraken. I think
even less in New York. So let's
sorry.
RIP me.
Yeah. So like all those for those people, I think they're not going to hear the message. So the only way they're going to know about cold storage, I think, is like let me check out Miss Teen Crypto, or let me check out this on or this on. And they're like, what's that? I think that's going to be the thing. I think maybe people around the globe will be like, maybe that's a better option.
I would think so. Again, like you have people that are in third world countries that have triple digit inflation. Their banks are failed. There's just nothing there for them. So Bitcoin is probably one of the most obvious ways. And you're seeing in places like Argentina, Bitcoin adoption is booming. Then you also have like, Canada that wants to shut down your bank account for no reason. America is the same thing. And it's just, and then you have like this cross-border issue as well, where people are like leaving their houses and like there's natural disasters you have to think about too. There's wars breaking out all over the world that aren't covered on the mainstream. So people are actively leaving their homes and having to find a new place to go. So what are you going to carry with you? Are you going to carry a bag of cash that someone's going to take from you? Maybe not. Are you going to carry some gold bars that's too heavy and people are going to take away from you? Maybe not. Or can you keep your recovery phrases in your head and on a piece of paper and hide it somewhere? Yeah, you can. So I guess like you do have more options with Bitcoin in terms of like transport, cross-border payments, like helping people across the world. I think it's just like something that I think as Americans and as maybe people in the first world country, we don't think about because, people every day, they're just kind of, I don't want to say like stuck in the matrix, but almost because they're not thinking about it again because inflation has been so progressive. It's been like except in the past year or so, it's just kind of been like a slow ride up. freedoms being lost every day. Like, you know, we have our face scanned, our phones are listening to us. It's just slowly, we're giving up more and more. So when it comes to things like money and like losing control over that, it's something that people don't really think about until they show up at the bank, and then all of a sudden they don't have money anymore, which is what people experienced with SVB, with First Republic, with for a few others where it was starting to get really dicey. So, and it's small, and bigger banks are being acquired by banks that are smaller than them. So that's another thing that's just extremely backwards.
Pretty soon it'll be 5 banks running everything.
Yeah, JP Morgan acquired First Republic. They weren't really supposed to, but they're the biggest bank. They just got bigger. And then all these big banks are colluding with FedNow and like, you know, all these other pilot projects. You know, it's just the rabbit hole goes so deep, which is, again, why we have to educate people, and we have to kind of shake people, be like, hey, man, you got to look into this. Money is going digital. Everybody knows that. It might as well be something you own. Again, it comes down to the education and the adoption and the things that, honestly, it's up to us to build. We should be making top-notch Zesty wallets. I know we talked about a few. We need more. We need more transparent wallets like Cake Wallet. We need more different ways to buy crypto. I think local Bitcoins, even something like that, left us too soon. I talk about it all the time because they could take off your on-ramps and off-ramps like they did with Binance. Perfect example, Binance US. So we need a way to peer-to-peer get Bitcoin. I'm sure there's OTC spots. I think Uphold has an OTC thing, but I think we need local Bitcoins. We need more things like that and ways to bring that down, that barrier to entry, which I feel is a little high right now.
Yeah, I think the big thing you just said there was the on-off ramps and Operation Choke Point. I think there's, like, I keep hearing from my subscribers about banks shutting them off, especially in the UK for some reason. It seems like a bunch of the banks are saying, no, we're not going to accept that. I remember one bank, it wasn't just to pay for crypto, but they wouldn't even accept the flow of fiat money from a centralized exchange to their bank. And I'm like, I don't know what's the point there. So yeah, it's scary times. And I think it's only going to get worse for the on-off ramps. So that's important. But
yeah,
to bring it home, I will say that, you know, it is a free market, right? So like, if there's one bank that's like, nope, there's a second bank, nope, there's always gonna be one bank that's like, you know what, we're greedy, we'll make sure this happens. And then then you vote with your pocketbook and off you go.
It depends on like who they collude with. I feel like, well, there's a lot of collusion going on in the banking system. And I think it's just until Bitcoin again pops off to the point where they can't stop it anymore. And it's really at that point now where even people that are, again, within our government, like Tom, remember you brought up that letter before, they're pushing for that spot ETF approval. And then once that starts, oh my gosh, it's going to be craziness, because Grayscale, the CEO, said, I want all of my digital trusts to become ETFs. And that includes things like Litecoin, Solana, and like a slew of coins. So I think almost as if they're scared to open the floodgates. Rob, what do you think?
About the ETF? So I will just say this, like, I know everybody, like what you said, when the ETF gets approved, probably do pretty well, right?
Yeah.
Especially if we look at the Fidelities, the BlackRocks, the Bitwise, and all the different people that are there. I think someone did a calculation. I think out of all of them, I think it's like over 17 or 18 trillion dollars. So even if you have just a little bit of allocation, it'll be pretty good. Now the question then becomes, well, will it be approved? Everybody says it's going to be approved. Everybody says it's going to be approved. And everybody says it's going to be approved this year. I don't think it's going to happen. And then the next tranche is people saying it's going to be approved in March 2024, which is the last deadline for all of them. We don't know which one it's going to be, but we think it's going to be one of these. I think the only, or one of the few people out here that's like, I don't think it's going to be approved. I'm going to tell you why. First of all, Bitcoin's done fine without an ETF, but it does accelerate things, right? Just like regulation. If we have positive regulation, we don't need it, but it sure as heck accelerates it. But then you have to remember, who's overseeing this whole process? It's your friend, Gary Gensler. I'm just kidding. But it's Gary, and he wants to protect us harder. And who does Gary work for? Some people will say, well, Gary works for Goldman Sachs, or he used to work for Goldman Sachs, so he's in their pocket, or he's in the pocket of BlackRock. There comes a point, I believe, in your life, there's only so much money that you can accumulate. Once you have hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, there's only so much. Now it all becomes power. And who does Gary work for? I guess we're going to find out. in March? Does Gary work for the
Hucksters.
BlackRocks and the big banks? Or is Gary like, I'm positioning to be a senator or the head of some other agency, the CFTC, or I want to do something else in government? Gary works for the White House. The White House absolutely hates crypto. Biden has put out a couple of different documents, which talks about, like what you said, electricity, the different problems with crypto and digital assets, where it's going. And of course, we want to regulate it, but because we don't know where it is, they hate it. So Gary's also big friends with Elizabeth Warren. Why is he a friend with Elizabeth Warren? I hate to say this. They're both Democrats. There's 5 people on the Federal Reserve. Excuse me. There's 5 people in the SEC. 3 are Democrats, 2 are Republicans. Hester Pierce is one of them. They usually vote together. I hate to be political, but so far it looks that way. I hope I am wrong, because I'd rather be wrong and rich than right and poor. But don't be surprised if this doesn't get approved. And that's where I stand. And everybody else is against me, and that's okay. That's just really how I think.
We might need the new admin. Everyone's saying new admin 2024. And, I think that they're very smart and they play stupid, right? Where they're saying, oh, we don't know about this Bitcoin stuff, but they'll go release a letter on DeFi tomorrow and they'll describe exactly what it is. And they even put out a paper recently. I don't know if you saw, I think it was the SEC or the Federal Reserve. I can't remember which one. I think it was the Federal Reserve on tokenization. They know exactly what they're doing, Rob. It just comes down to, when are they going to let it fly? And then you have Gary Gensler who comes on, and I think the way they do hearings is so old. 5 minutes total to ask a question and get an answer, like you don't get real information there. And everyone's sleeping, everyone's dead. That's a different conversation. He says, Gary Gensler, he comes on and says, this is my opinion and not of the SEC. So when they brought up to him his 2018 session at MIT, talking about how Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin Cash are commodities, 3/4 of the crypto ecosystem at that time, at least, were 3/4 commodities, cash crypto, should not even touch the court. And he loved Algorand, the next Uber, just a matter of who's going to update the software, quote Gary. So where was the switch up? And he wanted to be, right before he became chairman, 2019, he asked CZ, he was like, can I be like a little advisor for Binance? You want to team up, dude? Was saying that, he was a fan of crypto, and then he gets in this office. And it's like, it went all kaplooey. What happened? He's a crypto bro.
He's a crypto.
It's a crypto bro.
I don't know, but I will tell you what's funny about Gary is that, and even this last one, it was Tom Emmer, matter of fact, he asked me, he said, so, Mr. Gensler, you work for Goldman Sachs.
Yes.
You've been there for quite some time. And you gained a lot of money during this time. Is that true? And Gary looked at him and did a sideways smirk and said, I've done pretty good since then. And everybody starts laughing in the audience. And I was like, you know what? This is a guy who's been brought before Congress multiple times, and he knows how to play the game. And he's like, and he answers questions, And then what does he do? I'll keep suing people, and I'll keep denying ETFs. And that's just how it's, and like when people say like, oh, Gary they really took it to Gary. It took it to him like four or 5 times. Hasn't changed anything so far. So I'm like, who's really winning here? I think it's Gary Gensler. And I know people hate his guts, but you got to tip your hat to him and go, you know what? That's a guy with some pretty thick skin, and he gets lambasted, but he's like, yeah, I've still done pretty well.
This guy, that hearing was so good. It was like I think it's actually a TV show. That's why I say like a lot of things are theater, because that's exactly what all of it's theater. So he's in there at that hearing, and he's like, my dad actually passed down to me an allergy to cats. And the guy's like, we're going to do this kitty stuff later. And then he also brought up how he liked rom-com. So and he laughs. So he's like abusing us at the same time. And he's like, yeah, artificial intelligence is cool because when I go on Netflix, I'm a rom-com guy. So when I go on Netflix, that's what the stream shows me. It's just a bunch of rom-coms. Like, Gary, I think he needs love. I don't know.
No, I mean, he's really just rubbing our face into it. He's like, I know that he's like, I know you guys have a certain time for me to answer the question. So I'm going to just stall as much as I possibly can and talk about rom-coms and Netflix and my history. And maybe I'll get to your question at some point. And he's really saying, he's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to keep asking me questions? I don't care. I'm just going to go back and I'm going to tell Coinbase, I'm going to sue them after today. So it's like, okay, have fun, Gary.
Yeah.
And I think Gary's winning, right? I mean, Gary's winning in that regard, but he just lost that appeal for the Ripple case. So nobody's immune to the inevitability that is crypto.
Yeah, I think so, because when there was an interview where they were like, you know, crypto has some sympathetic judges, and he just goes, like, he kind of blinked out. He didn't know what to do there. Poor Gary. He's just all over the place. And I think he has a good time. I really do think he enjoys what he does. He's proud of himself and just what he's doing. You know, he's just like, yeah, I'm getting paid. I just go out there and do a Fugazi 4-hour hearing and say whatever I want. And who's going to get me in trouble? I'm at the top. You know, it's just like an abuse of power. It's just like that evil villain that has like that moo ha 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 laugh. I feel like he should just come out with that next time. I don't know. But if Gary could be something for Halloween, I wonder what he would be. Would he dress up as a kitty cat?
Thor. He would dress up as Thor. The worst Thor costume of all time. But no, I mean, like, but I mean, beyond that, like, I got to tell you again about me being wrong. I remember I did a video on Gary about how I thought he was going to be great when he first came in, because he was so pro crypto on his MIT speeches, and then just kind of goes the other way. Who knows?
It's so unfortunate, man. I mean, I think the future of crypto is bright. I think it's inevitable. I think we're going to hit a point where mainstream adoption just slaps us in the face, and we're just going to be in kind of a euphoric moment. I think the next bull run is going to look really different. I know you're into gaming, into the gaming side of things slightly, in crypto. And how do you feel that's going to be in the next bull market? Because I feel like it was just like very fundamentals bricks being laid down, I guess, this past one. I don't know how I would put it.
Yeah, so like with the gaming thing, I am not a big gamer, but what I did is I reached out to some of the top people in the space, and I had Crypto Stash on. He's been on 3 or 4 times in the show. I had Kagi and Classy Games, and then Johnny from Crypto Banter. And I was like, the questions were the exact same. Why is Web3 going to be the next bull run, and what could derail it? And what they said was, it was very simple. They go, it's not going to be an Axie Infinity type of thing, which kind of screwed everything up, which was just a play to earn. And really all that really was a bunch of VC funding, which they were bribing people to play. When the money ran out, the song ended and the dancing stopped. They said, so that's going to go away. What's going to happen is you're going to have all these different studios start to make actually games that people want to play. And once they get that done, then they're going to add in the secondary aspects, which is like Web3. It'll be like not an afterthought. They'll think about it. But if they can make games that people want to play, then the gamers come in. And they talked about, they go, you got to remember, and I remember this back in the day, console games on like Nintendo or Sega or PlayStation or whatever else, $40-50. Couldn't do much of them. You could take those and you could go drop them off at GameStop, and you can get like $5 or $10 back. Great. Then they said, okay, we're going to stop that. We're going to do a subscription-based model. And at first, everybody bitched and complained about it, all the gamers. But then they finally got into it, and they realized, hey, this is a subscription model for every month I'm paying for this, and some of my favorite games go away. We got to stop this. And then they went into free gaming, and everybody bitched and complained about that. And then Fortnite came out. Within 8 months, it was $1 billion company, and they were the first to actually do it. And what did they do? They allowed you to buy these things, V-Bucks, which was dollars, and you could pay for all these skins and everything else, which it had nothing to do with the game itself. It wouldn't level you up. It was just something cool you could have, but you can't do anything with it. You can sell them on a tertiary market, but that goes against the terms of service. So now they're going into this one about NFTs, Web3 gaming, and all the crypto people are doing the same thing. They're bitching and complaining about it because they've had some bad games. Now you've got games like My Pet Hooligan. And like, for me, I'm a casual gamer because I want to like, just not have to think too hard. So like Benji Bananas and Plucky, what is it called? Get Plucky? I forget. It's like Frogger or like Crossy Road. Get Plucked. It's from Gala Games.
Get Plucked. I like that.
Yeah, right. And it's free to play. And it's very simple. But the secondary aspect of it is the Web3. So you can buy the NFT part of it, which can accentuate what you're doing. You can sell those, you can stake and all the stuff that they want to do. And that's how things are going to get done. So if you're taking a look at like real utility, I think Web3 is going to make it. And that's why like you'll take a look at the Gala, the Illuvium, the big times, and then of course the studios like Nakamoto Games and all the different ones that are out there, if you don't want to go on just the one. So I think that could be the next big play, and then we'll see, because last cycle, what was the last big play? Metaverse, and I don't remember the last.
Axie Infinity.
Yeah, Axie Infinity, but I mean like the actual actual play, people like DeFi and Metaverse are going to be huge, and they were,
Yeah.
but nothing really came out of it. And then DeFi is starting to catch up, and Metaverse is, I don't know.
Yeah, the metaverse is lacking a little bit. And I think because it's the funding issue where a lot of this needs to be on, what is it, Unity or Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine. Yeah. And I think a lot of these things are technical, they're costly. I think a lot of us in crypto are very spoiled, where, especially in the bull market, it was like every day it was like, ba, 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 another project, do, 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 do. And no one like slowed down for a minute to, one, make sure the projects were good and that they were like playable. And two, like we need something like those bricks laid down a little bit. And I think that was like the test net. Because remember before how I was referencing like the 2020, almost 2021-ish, the grocery store coins and Uniswap came out. And that was like kind of like the little like mini birth of DeFi, where people, again, those grocery store coins, are they here today? Absolutely not. But did they lay out the groundwork for DeFi? Absolutely. Did the games in the last bull market really impress us? Not really. But were they laying down the groundwork to say, okay, maybe free to play and then play to earn and all these like things, and play and earn? There was just so many things that were thrown out there just to see like what's going to make a in-game economy last. Like where's the longevity? I think that's what a lot of people missed out on, was like that in-game economy. How do we structure that to make sure that if the players are down or the players are up, it doesn't matter, there's still community, there's still a way to play. I think that's a big thing. And it was also very financially driven.
Let me ask you this. So this is what I always saw it as. I thought to myself, if you take like a Web2 hit back in the day, right? Let's take Angry Birds, for example, right?
Yeah.
Millions and millions of people. It had, the IP rights to that is massive. It's $1 billion, I'm pretty sure. They actually did movies over it. There was merchandise and of course the game itself, but it was free to play. Let's say that you took that same game. I mean, not in America. I mean, of course, the other parts of the world, because Gary's not going to allow this. But you take Angry Birds, and then you say, okay, we're going to allow you to have an in-game wallet, which could be some kind of crypto. Let's say it's Angry Token, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then you can see how far you can get, and you can play against other people, and you can wager against other people. So you can put in like 5 Angry Token, and you got 20 different people, see how far you get or how well you do. And the winner, or the top 3, they get the pot. Yes. I think the gambling aspect would be pretty huge. And then, of course, what if you could take those same tokens and you could do a skin on it that could upgrade you a little bit? Maybe you might want to do that. So, like, I see, like, if you take like a Web2 game and kind of and that has already been proven that has like millions and millions of users to actually use it, and it's a game that people want to play without the Web3 aspect. You put that in and say, let's do a Web3 part of this, and that's, well, there was a project I got involved in called Genso Kishi. It was on Nintendo Switch, it was on PlayStation, it was on Xbox, and they went from Web 2 to Web 3 for the metaverse, Genso Kishi. And now they just partnered up with Square Enix. I always say it wrong, Square Enix, and they're doing their NFT project on that. And there's also a token. So like I look at that, I'm like, well, that's already been around for years, so it'd work out pretty well. Down a little bit in the market, but I think as we move forward, I think it'll do pretty well.
What you brought up was cool. Bring a Web 2 game into Web 3, but do it the right way. You know what I mean? And I think that's why we needed those previous games to give us those building blocks as to what works and what doesn't. So that way it could be like easily integrated. We know, like, you know, the big production people, they watch us, how we do gaming, how we do NFTs as creators, and then they take it and then they run with it, which we started to see last bull run, where the Spider-Man franchise, you could get a wax NFT if you bought the ticket from AMC. So there were just a whole bunch of things that were going on. But what you were saying about Angry Birds, bringing that to Web3, I think is obviously genius. It's something that people have heard of. It's a way for people to onboard. Why not? I think that we need a lot more games from Web 2 to come into Web 3. It's just a matter of when. I think because of the Garys, if Gary wasn't around and if he wasn't as tyrannical as he is, I think all of these games would have NFTs, not only because of the tokens and whatever, but because of the actual ownership aspect, where in Web 2, right, we were spending all this money, like Fortnite, you're spending all this money on V-Bucks to buy all these skins, but if you get a new account and you get logged out, then you don't get your skins back, or you can't transfer them to a friend. You can't say, all right, I'm kind of done with this game. Let me sell it on a secondary market, or say, I really like this asset. I don't want to give it up. Maybe someone else needs it. Why don't they rent it from me? And we both split the profits of whatever they earn, which is also something that you don't get in Web 2. All this money just went to zero, where in Web 3, it could kind of maintain its value a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, you're right. Everything, you're right. But it all comes down to the base is make a game that people will actually play.
Exactly.
And the problem, and the problem with that is that like AAA rated games, they take years and years to actually develop and actually put out. And here's the thing also is that I have a friend named Mike. He's a developer. He's in a couple of #1 hits on Apple and Android. He says for every one hit that you have that you make, you're going to have 10 failures. He goes, so it's pretty much like investing. There are so many games that you've never even heard of because people put so much time and energy into it and it just didn't take off for whatever reason. So I think that's one of those things. So make a game that's actually fun. Maybe it actually hits off. And then of course, the last piece, there's two things though, is make sure it's not a cash grab and these actual have utility. And then the last thing is like, if you're going to do these things into like games that anybody can get into, now you got to start to think about, especially the gambling aspect, like do I really want my kids to be a part of this? Do I want them to get in there? And how do I protect the kids from getting into the gambling part? I will say this, if you play any games, there's these things called loot boxes. And that is like, and I'm sure like everybody out there, this is probably happening if you got kids. Like, hey, I'm playing this game. Can I buy this thing on this game? And of course, his parents are like, ugh, no. But then it's essentially you actually give in, they buy something. Now they get these things called loot boxes where it's essentially like gambling, like put in $2 and you might get this magical sword or whatever else. That's essentially a little piece of gambling. So I don't know the answer to the other part, but it really comes down to like effective parenting. If you don't want your kids to be gambling, you should make sure that you monitor what they're actually doing. But I think that the majority of the people that were playing, not the majority, but a large portion, were people who were adults and could actually play Angry Birds. There we go.
Angry Birds, yes. Angry Birds. Angry Birds, like, I remember being obsessed with Angry Birds. It was such a vibe. Guys, in the chat, I know Rob usually takes a Q&A on his channel. So we'll do like a few Q&A if you guys will take a few questions if you guys have any in the chat. Thank you for the 5 memberships. I just want to shout out the chats really quick. Thank you for all the memberships. Mr. Yeehaw, Meninja, thank you for the $3.99 super chat. Squigs, thank you for gifting memberships and becoming a member. American Legend, shout out to you. RustyBot, thank you for being a member for 6 months. I appreciate you. They also said hit the like. We have over 100 people, 91 likes. Let's smash it. Let's pump it up. We like to pump it up on this channel. Rob, how do you feel again? Like, you know, we're sitting sideways trading. Do you look at the charts? How do you feel about sideways just blah? I know you're friends with Ben Cohen. You do NFA Live. Are they upset right now? Are you upset right now?
Ben's not. It's working out pretty well for him.
Ben's just all about Bitcoin dominance. Win the next meme. I love seeing his memes. He's funny.
Yeah. He's like, the thesis is still intact for Bitcoin dominance, which I think is going to happen. You're going to see some kind of drop's going to happen, right? Whether it be, who knows what it is. It's the housing market's crashing or the entire global economy is crashing. There's never a shortage of chicken littles out there who are saying that the sky is falling. It just never stops. It doesn't, even like when we're in the bull market, there were some people going, you know what? It's going to crash tomorrow. All right. So like for like charts and things like that, like, unfortunately, I have to look at them because of the channel. But in all honesty, I probably wouldn't look at it every single day. I'd probably do it like once every couple of weeks because it just is depressing. Because especially when I do like the Sunday review, and I'm like, geez, I'm down that much. Well, it was the same thing last time. So, and I always have to like remind people who are watching, and I also get to remind myself, like, look, bear markets don't last forever. Bear markets are going to happen, and this is where all the money's made. When there's steep discounts. So
Exactly. Listen, I know the facts, and that's every time Bitcoin has gone down 75 to 80%, it's always gone back up and surpassed its previous all-time highs. People are asking me like some questions in the chat about who's the best hipper. We're not getting into the hipper rankings today. What do you feel about? I know people were talking about the Costco hot dogs. Have you ventured into those? Like, how do you feel about your $1.50 for the Costco hot dog? That's
Well,
a big thing.
yeah, I did see that Jim Cramer did a tweet on it, so I'm expecting it to go to $10. Not as kidding. So like with the hot dog, it's a hot dog and combo, right? Over at Costco, I think it is
I
$1.50.
I don't
If
know. Is it the combo for $1.50 with the Coke? Does it come with that?
yeah, tell me in the comments because I forgot. Because like we usually like we have a Costco on the street from us. We go there, once every couple of weeks, and I usually get like the ice cream and the pizza, but I still like it. I will say this, maybe that should be an indicator. Like we all have the like these macro indicators, We look at the JOLTS report, unemployment report, we take a look at the M2 money supply. Maybe we should just do a chart for the hot dog $1.50. And if it ever starts to do this and goes up, you're like, oh, that's it.
It's
The
over. People
economy's
said it's
over.
a combo.
See, I
It's a
thought it was a
combo.
combo.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Costco, I haven't been to a Costco in a long time. I've gone to, like, I have a BJ's near me. It's closer to me than Costco. But I think they have all right stuff. I feel the quality, like, has it gone down in the last few years? I think so. I feel like these people, they just got cocky and they were like, whatever, we're just going to put sheesh in these places and people are going to pay and come here anyway. I don't know.
Yeah,
Who
probably
knows?
so. Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I know that someone has a question here, Dave Digital. Are you still taking a plunge in the pool behind you at 100K BTC?
Yep. As soon as that happens, but who knows when it's going to happen. So let me ask you, Randy,
Oh no.
when do you think Bitcoin's going to get to 100K?
I don't
2024, 2025, or 2026?
I don't know. I think it's gonna be when no one expects it.
Uh,
That's what I could leave it. I don't know if people are gonna get salty with me. The thing is, Bitcoin does what people say it's not gonna do. Just like how we were at 15K, people were like, "Oh my God, 10K, 8K, Bitcoin, meh." And then look at where we're at now. We're up over 60% for the new year, over 50 for sure. So there's just Bitcoin does what it wants when it wants. There was laser eyes at 50K. We're going to 100, and then we went. So
yeah.
there you go. So I feel like any probably people think after the 4-year cycle, people preaching 4-year cycle almost makes me think it's not gonna hold, just because. Like everyone's saying 4-year, we know. Like and once people say they know, they don't. So I'm just here, I guess.
No, that is true. That's why it's important to know like just a couple of indicators. Like there's this website called Look into Bitcoin. It's 100% free for the charts for Bitcoin. For the macro side, you have to pay, but you can go there and you can take a look at like the MVRVZ score, the NUPL.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and a couple other ones that I did a video where I talk about when I'm going to sell 80% of my crypto, and most of them are in that site. There's a couple that are in Ben's site into the cryptoverse, as far as like time and risk bands. But there's some things that you should take. And what's great about looking at Bitcoin is that it makes it super simple because like I'm a simpleton and like there's like it's colors. So like when it gets red, things are overheated. You might want to think about taking some profits. And then of course, when things go down and it's in the green, you might want to think about buying some. So you look at that and you take a look at all those indicators and you can kind of, pi cycle top it and say, well, maybe this is it. And again, if you're going to DCA in, you should probably think about DCAing out.
DCA, the way of the game. Someone said,
Yeah.
I'll take my Cake wallet and Cake gift cards all day over USD at this point. Listen, having your crypto and Cake wallet, you'll probably escape the volatility. And the Cake gift cards are amazing, guys. Please check out Cake Pay. You're able to spend your Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Monero at your favorite retailers. It's absolutely key. And they're going to be doing more with Cake Pay soon. So make sure, again, you check out that. And I also have an interview with Vic that you guys could check out on the Missing Crypto Show playlist. Rob, man, thank you so much for joining me. I have a question for you before we head out. Give us a speech from your heart. It could be about Costco combos. It could be about the beautiful Texan weather, your green screen behind you, or, Bitcoin. I don't know whatever your heart says that you need to tell us right now. Please let us know, and also let us know how to find you.
Not I think we've covered a lot today. Let's be honest.
We did.
But there is the one thing that I will say is I know everybody feels it. They feel this bear market and they think like this will never go away. And I'm here to tell you that I've been through a couple already. And in the bear market, you never feel like things are going to recover. And in the bull market, you never feel like it'll ever go back down. And you have to temper your emotions and have a plan before all these things conspire. So right now, have a plan of when you're going to sell. How do those price points look at? What kind of indicators you're going to do? If you don't do it now, when you're your most sane in the bear market, when you get to the bull, you will fail and you will write everything up and you will get emotional. You write everything down. So have a plan, because if you don't have one, you're planning to fail. And of course, you can find me over at Digital Asset News on YouTube and also on Twitter. And that's it for today.
Beautiful. Okay. I wrote, oh, wait, hold on. No way. That's the wrong link. Let me make sure
That's
I get
close enough.
Wasn't this from your
Close
YouTube?
enough.
Oh, it's because, okay, I'll tell you about this.
It cuts off.
Yeah,
Yeah, it cuts off.
I'm gonna tell. Yeah, you gotta just re-enter that in your Twitter bio. Okay, it's in the description of my video. Let me go re-grab it so that way I put it in the live chat for everyone to have and love, because I love Rob and you guys should too. So make sure again you guys subscribe to Rob, because he's a beautiful individual and make sure he tells you the truth. He's never gonna lie to you. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. You know what I mean? That type of vibe. Thank you so much, Rob, again for joining me. I appreciate you so much. Have a great day, everyone. Make sure you guys again smash these likes, subscribe, share the stream out with friends, and as always, stay zesty. Peace.
Adios.
Hey.
Hey. That's good.
You're awesome.